Okay, we have an ayahuasca case out of Florida, and an ayahuasca church and its owner got spanked really, really hard. Got a $15+ million judgment against them. And as I dove into this, Cambo, I think is how they pronounce it. Cambo seems like it's the problem in this case. And back in 2018, they had a retreat, and they combined ayahuasca and Cambo on their retreat, and this poor bastard died. And as they started unraveling how he died, it brought to mind my concerns as psychedelics are rolling out around the state of California here, and people trying to define who's going to be able to facilitate this. If you got a dumbass running your psychedelic show, you should be careful. I don't know if you can get insurance for this, and this is going to be a real painful lesson for folks. Now, when I looked up Cambo, it seems that in the forest, the rainforest of South America, there's a big old frog.
Yeah, this is the toad.
And
toad venom.
A toad, he would go out and shake it out of a tree, scrape toxins off the back of it, and then they burn little holes in your skin, and they smear this toxin on your skin. You puke your guts out, and then you supposedly cleanse yourself. Okay, so ayahuasca, if you don't understand what that does, if you take ayahuasca tea, it also causes you to puke your guts out because your stomach's going, hey, it shouldn't be here, so you start puking. And this poor guy, I don't know how old he was, he went to this retreat, and they gave him both ayahuasca and Cambo. I think Cambo's how they say it, but I don't give a shit how you say it.
Cambo. With a K.
Cambo.
Yeah.
This guy, he died from drinking too much water, flushing all the sodium out of his system, and his brain didn't have enough oxygen, so he died from this. Okay? And as they began to unravel this, I'm thinking back to medical malpractice cases I tried where you have some drug administered to somebody, it doesn't go right, and we start looking into the details of why did you give the drugs you gave? Did you monitor them carefully? And then it also made me think of who in the hell is going to be doing this down the road if you don't understand the basics of how the human body responds. And even a quick Google search found that the websites say do not combine ayahuasca and Cambo. Don't do it. Okay, so these people did it. And one of the problems I see here is that when you do this Cambo, you actually burn holes in the skin and you smear it on. Now, you don't know what the hell you're smearing in there. Where did it come from? I don't think those toads live in the United States, so nope. Who's importing this stuff?
South America.
And yeah, but how's it getting in the country? And is it stable as you transport it? All sorts of things come to mind. And then I'm thinking about the trial of this, who they have come in as an expert for this church to support that this is something that you should be doing. This is basic negligence law. You owe everybody a duty of care. And if you undertake to do things like this, the standard of care is heightened. And I don't know how you find someone who's going to say that you should bring somebody into your church for a retreat and put these two drugs into them without being trained on what happens when you puke your guts out and then you start slamming water into you. Because that's the problem here. If you put a poison into you, and you can certainly, ask the physicians about this who would understand this more than I do, but you put a poison and you start to puke. Your body starts dumping the stuff. As you pour water into you, your kidneys open up and start just dumping out water along with everything else. And if you're not trained to watch for the signs of what they call hyponatremia, which is low sodium, and you shouldn't be there doing this. You shouldn't recommend it. I'm not saying you have to have a physician do it or a nurse, but it would certainly help people who understand physiology, pharmacology, how to do basic maintenance of somebody when they're not feeling well, which this is like having the stomach flu and just puking and puking and puking. You've got to get fluids back into you. You can't put fluids back in while you're puking them out. And it was just an absolute disaster. So for people thinking they want to get into the psychedelics market, it looks like juries are not going to be all that favorable to you because they gave each of the parents $7.5 million for pain and suffering here. Now, I mean, I've tried some cases where there was a baby turned out bad or died or things like that. I've never seen parents get that kind of money, even when their kid gets killed. And now it looks like there's going to be a premium paid if you end up in front of a jury because someone is seriously injured or killed because you're just shoveling shit into them. You have no idea what you're doing. So be careful. It's a cautionary tale going forward. And I'm going to throw it back at you. What do you guys all think about this?
15 million has been a very popular number this week, Rico. Because that's what the guy in New York got fined, $15 million from Letitia James for his weed shops. And now we have this Texas case. They're fining him $15 million. I see a trend.
Next thing you know, Donald Trump is going to be claiming 15 million people were outside the courthouse cheering him on.
There was a lot of people there. A lot of people.
Always comes in threes.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think this is the right decision. You know, of this ayahuasca church. They're the ones that put on the retreat. Is that correct?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Then they should be liable. Like
yeah, they definitely should be liable. And this is crazy to me that you're going to go and mix those things. I mean, the internet says not to mix them, but that really is just telling people to mix them because people want to be Avengers and, you know what I'm saying, live on the edge and do all of that. So, of course, since the internet tells you to do that or not to do that, you're going to try to do that. But I agree that this church, since they are acknowledging themselves as a church, that they have a lot of liability in regards to this because they're administering this and claiming it as a health benefit when really this guy just lost his life, and now you know he may be a parent, you know, so his other family members are now lost without him, and so this is just a tragedy.
In any circumstance,
go ahead, Manndie.
in any circumstance where you're, you know, proclaiming that you are providing a service to help increase the quality of life of an individual, you are now becoming known as a care provider. Mm-hmm. And when you become a care provider, you have to know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, you are doing no harm to this individual. And when you're taking any kind of mind altering or body altering substance, I don't care what it is, even if it's aspirin, you are becoming a caretaker for somebody. You have to be really careful. You have to really know, especially if you are leading some kind of ceremonial something or other, that you have to have all possible outcomes accounted for. And you really need to know what you're doing. This is not something to take lightly. And this just rings true too. I mean, cannabis obviously is a little bit softer and doesn't have the same side effects as ayahuasca, but like even us educators out there with cannabis, there's going to be millions and millions of people who are trying this for the first time over the course of their life, and to walk them through that journey carefully is very important. Not that they're going to die from it, but we don't want people's first experiences to be adverse. And so just do no harm.
Yeah, I'll second that, Manndie. I will say that I have seen you over the past year take a lot of care in people who are newly entering the cannabis industry and how it affects them and stepping them through the process. And I think that is important to do. And I echo what you say here. Like, if you're going to have a dangerous situation, have a safety net around. Trapeze artists don't do the tricks without a net under them, right? That's because if something goes wrong, you could die. So have a net around you. You know what I'm saying? It's literally that simple. You know what I mean?
Paramedic. Like these kinds of things should just have a paramedic on hand.
I mean, listen, if a high school freshman football game needs a paramedic at it, I think an ayahuasca session probably does too. I'm just saying.
Well, there's a reason why they have those medics there, Luke, because people have been seriously hurt, and then they go, holy shit, now what do? We better have medical standing by. And this is probably going to be one of those cases. So I'm saying, if you're going to do this, be very careful, understand what you're doing. Another thing that's going to be a problem here for these parents is that now you have to collect. And I doubt they have insurance for this. We've already started the process of doing a debtor exam, and I typically represent an insurance company, so we wrote a check. We didn't have to worry about it. But I've had to chase people in debtor exams before, And I don't know how you're going to get $15 million out of this guy in this church. I doubt they have,
Yeah, I agree with that exactly. Yeah, I don't think they got.
For big pharma.
I don't think they're going to be able to ship it.
I think there's a win. I think there's a win for big pharma, and there's going to be more fuel in their tank to push towards. This needs to be like these psychedelics need to be handled by big pharmaceutical companies, and they need to be regulated to the nth degree, because this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to be careful about, Rico. What you're just saying is like, I don't want to make it sound like we're disparaging people finding mental health in different ways through plant medicines and ayahuasca and stuff like that. That's not what we're saying. What we are saying is just have safety parameters in place in case things go haywire. Do your thing, expand your mind, expand your consciousness, help your mental health, whatever it is that you're using these substances for.
Well, not to make light of this tragic story, but can I tell you guys what the best part about this whole story is?
What?
In Florida,
there was no cannabis involved in this story. They're not trying to blame this death at all on weed or anything else like that. They're not trying to make cannabis the scapegoat in any of this, which they often do in a lot of these different types of stories and whatnot. And so that's the best that I have to say about this.
Well, in Cambo was found to be unsafe. Okay, and that's the bell ringer here, is that if you're going to use that stuff, don't use it as anything else. And I'm not sure how you actually accomplish this without exposing yourself to problems, because you break the skin at all, it basically requires a nursing license or a medical license to be breaking the skin to administer drugs. And there's just no way this is going to come out well for you.
But I do have something to say, and I'm going to just echo what Chris said, is if it doesn't have anything to do with cannabis, why the F are we
Well, because we talk about plant medicines and whatnot, and this is entheogenics in regards to, and so those are all things that we do cover here at High at 9 News, and so that's why.
Yeah. There's your answer, Chris.